Today, the 2nd of July 2025, a new month in Abaco. My first video of the new month. Just bringing you back over 20 years ago. It is hard being truthful with integrity in Abaco. Over 20 years ago, Bakers Bay was established. This week in Abaco, they are celebrating in Bakers Bay 20 years of existing. Bakers Bay tell you I could write a book on the Bahamas government from the Prime Minister right down. They corrupted everybody with that small money. Everybody that worked in Bakers Bay from foreign became a millionaire. While one black man called himself a doctor, he has stood on the heads of every black employee in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas that worked for Bakers Bay. Again, I was the first person hired by Michael Melman. He chased me down for 1 year. I said, buddy, I don't work for nobody. I don't work for nobody. But Ted DiBiase, the $1 million man, said everybody got a price. And I threw him a price that I thought that he would refuse. And he said, you're hired. 20 years I'm in the transportation business. I'm a taxi driver. There's nobody in Abaco that has owned a taxi and have been driving a taxi for over 40 years like Kai Mills. Over 20 years of Bakers Bay existence, Kai Mills have not made $100. When Bakers Bay first established, they broke all the rules. They had their own bus. You imagine in Atlantis, the biggest transportation provider, the biggest tourist resort in Nassau, taxi cannot make $100 in 20 years. They operate their own ferry service. That was Bakers Bay then. 20 years later, they're celebrating, and all we've gotten out of the deal was mediocre job. Everybody come from all over and become millionaires, and they're teaching us what we already know. They're so surprised to see the intelligence of the workers and the workforce in the Bahamas that the Bahamian is teaching them about how to build strong. And they're just saying, wow, there's only one thing wrong with this country. Since Pinland, we've had the worst leaders, worst prime minister in the history of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas has been running this country to the ground. You imagine they give Bakers Bay over 200 acres. The Abaco Club, the next big resort in Abaco, the PLP give them 350 acres free land. And most Abaconians, most taxi drivers can't even make $1. After Hurricane Dorian, it was tough. It's a story that only Kai can live. 20 years later, because Kai speak out against corruption, Kai Mills has net made $100 from the biggest resort in Abaco, and they're celebrating their 20-year anniversary this week. It's hard being Kai, but God has kept me for 20 years without making $1 from Bakers Bay, and God will continue to keep me because he knows that Kai has integrity, and he will continue to speak about corruption from the Prime Minister right down. Bakers Bay got everybody corrupted 20 years later. That they build a country within a country. Y'all watching the Haitians, but y'all ain't watching these other big resorts that they even brought in South Africans to run Baker's Bay. They brought in South African managers to run the Abaco Club. Boy, when I think about it, it becomes painful. Happy 28th anniversary, Baker's Bay. Kai didn't win, Kai lost, but Kai still walk away with his integrity because Kai cares. 20 years later, the president of a union can't take one guess from Baker's Bay 20 years later. Wow. Vote for Kai because Kai cares.